everybody. It is Brandon Foster here to encourage you, inspire you, motivate you to live your most abundant, joy-filled life. And if you're watching this today, you're watching this because you are eager to live a more joyful, abundant life. You have goals and dreams and aspirations that you can already see yourself achieving, but you're asking yourself the question of, what are some of the three big things that I can do right now that will immediately transform my life? And today I want to talk about three things that have really helped me to shift so many aspects of my life the last 3 years. And I honestly feel myself right now, this particular point of where I am, about to go massive change. I can just feel just massive change happening in my life. I can feel massive change happening in my husband's life. And the really cool thing is that he and I have always been growing together, and we always challenge one another to grow together. So it's really neat to watch him up level and me up level at the same time. And as we both up level, we're both shown our shadows or things that we need to work on or in our relationship, and also with one another, and also in our work. And it all integrates in this really crazy, really amazing way. And so today I want to talk about three specific ways you can begin transforming your life immediately. You all know I'm launching this amazing course called Tuning Into Love. And there are people right now who are watching this and who, man, I don't know who's going to sign up for this course. I just know that this course is the best course I've ever taught. And I know it's going to be the best course I've ever taught because it's the most integrated emotionally for me. I care about this perhaps more than any other topic that I've talked about or teach about. And I think people way underestimate how your relationships, especially with the relationships of your parents and your grandparents, actually impact the direct success that you have in all other areas of your life. People don't understand that. And I'll talk about that in a second. But the first thing that you all need to hear in regards to creating the future that you want to have is you have to absolutely let go of everything associated with the past. I mean, every religion talks about it, especially the Bible talks about the idea of you're a new creature created in Christ, you letting go of the old things. So, and all other religions talk about this too, but whenever you go through and you're up leveling to a new level in your life of finances, of growth, of relationships, it really, the only way that you can begin to experience that growth is you have to let go of the old identity. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with when we hang on to our past. That's just like a normal human nature. And let me explain to you the reason why we hang on to our past is because we have what's called a lizard or alligator brain. Our brain is wired to protect us. That is how the human brain is wired, is to protect us. So what happens is when things don't go the way that we want them to from the past, those memories are actually stronger energetically than the memories of the positive things that happen into our life, right? Like if I were to ask you, tell me someone who hurt you, you would immediately be able to tell me an answer. But if I say, tell me someone who positively impacted your life, I guarantee it's going to take you a little bit longer to answer that question. The reason is because when bad things happen to us or negative things happen to us, and we feel those negative emotions and we feel angerness, bitterness, hurt, pain, sorrow, guilt, shame, whatever it is, those are strong, and we never want to feel those emotions because they don't feel good, right? And so everything that we're afraid of doing in our life, the reason why we don't do it is because it's always associated with a possible negative outcome, but that's only surface layer. And what it really is a potential negative feeling that is really keeping us from it. So for example, cold calling, if you're in any kind of sales business and you're cold calling, it's not really that you're afraid of no, okay? Because everybody knows you have to have some no's before you get a yes. You know that you're not going to get all yeses. It's actually the feeling of rejection, and where rejection is tied to energetically for you. Like if rejection means that you're not valued or you're not loved or you're not good enough, like that is like really heavy emotional feeling. And those generally relate back to early childhood experiences, and I'll actually talk about this in a second, but traumatic experiences that your parents or grandparents actually experience as well. And so, in order to move forward to the best future of your life, you really have to let go of everything that's happened in the past. So, I have my own very successful travel agency. And, one of the things that my agents have to learn to is let go of the idea that if they had a consultation and someone didn't book, let go of that idea before you have the next consultation. So, and students, right? And students, when they are um, uh, learning to date for the first time, if like a relationship doesn't go well or they have a first date and they're not treated well, they tend to hang on, and that shapes their expectations and what they think is going to happen next. And we do this ourselves with like our work relationships. Okay, so say that you have a boss and your boss doesn't value or doesn't treat you well or is disrespectful. So now when you have your next boss, you're going to be very defensive. And the reason why you're going to be defensive is because you are trying to protect yourself from those same actions you experienced from the previous boss. This is why school teachers, they rush to judgment about their kids. School teachers rush to judgment about their kids because if a kid does one action that reminds them of a previous kid in their classroom, all of a sudden they put the label that this kid is just like this kid, and oh, watch out, this is bad news. And now you've calibrated to like this expectation because you haven't let go of the past of how that past kid was to you. And the same way, students, right? They calibrate to their teachers based on their previous expectations of students. And students are at a young age, they don't understand the process of letting go. Their brain is still developing. So if they have a negative experience with a teacher, they assign that identity and that meaning to every single teacher that they experience after that. And so what happens is they come in and they see you as a teacher, and then they treat you, kind of hostile or maybe defensively, or they don't give you respect because you're a teacher and my last teacher didn't respect you, so why should you respect me? And so then what happens is you have all this conflict between teacher-student relationship because they're both refusing to let go of their past expectations from previous relationships. And I've noticed that sometimes with the people that I hire, or when I hire other people, or when I work for somebody else, that I have to be careful not to assign an identity or perception of that person based on a previous experience that I had with somebody who worked with me in the past or a previous boss. So letting go is perhaps the most critical piece that people just don't understand. It's like you can't really enjoy new clothes until you let go of the old clothes. You got to let go of the old clothes to make space for the new clothes. And it does not mean that you're not grateful or you're not appreciative for the clothes that you did have. But in order to receive something new, you have to let go of the stuff from the past. And, for me, one of the things that I admire about my husband is when we both got laid off, like I was still holding on to the idea of I got fired, not valued, not appreciated. Why is this happening to me? My husband just let go of that all completely and was like, good, it's all done. Now I can find something new and amazing. And because he was able to detach and let go so quickly from that job, he allowed a new job to come in like really quick and really fast and really amazing. So I think it's really important to just kind of like let go. And when you let go, like something really big and amazing can come into your life. So I highly encourage you all to do that. To let go of every aspect of your life that is not serving you, especially past patterns, past beliefs, past ideas of who you are, past identities. Because the sooner you make the conscious choice to let go of those things, the quicker you can move to that next area of your life. Kind of like if you have a marriage and you go through a divorce, the people who let go of that hurt and the pain the fast, which by the way, that's what forgiveness is. I've talked so much about forgiveness. Forgiveness is actually letting go. People don't understand that about forgiveness. Forgiveness is actually letting go and accepting what happened in the past and letting go of the emotional attachments to whatever happened. And it's not giving justification to whatever wrong was given to you, but it's actually just letting go of the space and the energy and what happened so you can move on and fill the future. because you can never move on to your future if you're stuck into the past. And so a lot of people don't understand that about letting go. And I should really have a whole nother thing on letting go, because there's an amazing book called Letting Go by, I think his name is Dr. Hawkins. I don't remember his first name, but it's fantastic. But you have to let go of your old beliefs in order for you to make room for new beliefs and new space and clear things emotionally and energetically. The second thing I want to talk about, which is actually going to be an entire week, maybe even 2 weeks in my course, is how fundamental your relationship with your parents and your grandparents energetically impacts your success in life. And this is something that science is relatively new to actually like catch up to this idea and prove. But I know this is not something new for you all who are watching this, because how many times have you asked and wondered, why is it that I do some of the same things that my mom or my dad did? Or let's say that your mom didn't have very good relationships with men, and then all of a sudden your sister or you yourself, if you're a woman, doesn't have really good relationships with men, and you ask yourself, why is this happening? Why do families repeat patterns? And it has to do with the emotional imprints. And we don't fully understand all of this, but science is catching up to it. It has to do with genomes. So if you're not familiar with it, everyone knows what DNA is, right? So DNA basically is a structure, hereditary structure, right? That's passed down from grandparents to parents to kids. And DNA determines like your blood type, it determines like your hair color, and it determines your skin tone, and it determines a whole bunch of different characteristics and attributes of you as a human being. And science is very clear about how DNA is passed on from multiple generations. And that's how we can trace back, ancestry.com, and we can figure out where our country originally originated. So when you start to study genomes in science, we actually learn that behaviors and emotional traumas are also passed down genetically from our grandparents to our parents, and from our grandparents and our parents down to us. And I'm going to give you a couple of different illustrations that will actually explain this, okay? So take, for example, a couple who gets married, and the husband and that relationship cheats on his wife, okay? So he cheats on his wife, and he ends up leaving his wife. So he cheats and he leaves, okay? And let's say, for example, that woman, right? So she has 2 kids at the time. So we have a mom who is cheated on, and she has 2 young kids, and the husband cheats and he leaves. So that emotionally traumatic experience will shape the belief of not only the mom, but also of the 2 kids. A lot of it will have to do with the emotions and the feelings, especially at that young age, because kids are still developing mentally, their psychology. So what's going to happen is it is likely that the mom, okay, or excuse me, the daughter of the mom that got cheated on is going to believe that men cheat, okay, because that's what she witnessed as a kid. Men can't be trusted, men cheat. And if the dad did not value or respect the mom, she also will have that belief of maybe she's not good enough, and she's attached to how her mom perceives the world. So then what happens is when that daughter grows older, okay, it is not unusual for the daughter, when she becomes a mom and starts dating, she attracts men who don't value and don't appreciate her, because she learned from her mom that men don't value and appreciate. So it is hereditary, emotionally ingrained into her, okay? And then also, when she does get married, she's going to have this fear that her husband, even if he is a good guy, okay, so let's say she marries a good guy, she is going to have this fear that her husband is going to cheat on her. Why? Because her dad cheated on her mom. So now she has this fear, okay? So in relationships and in life, the things that we are afraid of often limit us for receiving the most abundant and joyful and love-filled lives. Those fears that we experience are a result of past experiences, either through ourselves or through our parents or our grandparents, that are felt from us. And remember, a fear is to protect us from a perceived negative emotion. So the idea that the daughter who saw her two parents get divorced and saw her dad cheat on her mom, the reason why she has the fear of her husband leaving is not so that she doesn't have a good relationship. It's actually to protect herself, because if she believes that already, then the idea is, if I see it coming, I can protect myself, right? And so that might actually make that daughter become manipulative in her relationships with men. Why is she manipulative? Because manipulation is actually an item of trying to control, right? So if she's manipulative and she's trying to control the men in her life, then what she's actually trying to do is trying to control them to prevent them from cheating on her. Okay? So a lot of people don't understand those dynamics. And then what happens is then the granddaughter actually has the same emotional imprints and fears if they have not been completed and released. And I think that's really, really important, because if energetically that has been forgiven, if the guilt has been cleared, if the pattern has been realized, and you complete and you forgive and you say you're sorry, right? You're healing that wound. So what's really important for people to understand is that the unhealed wounds of our parents and grandparents become our unhealed wounds. And the only way for us to heal those is to actually, there's a whole book about it. It's called It Didn't Start With You. And I'm going to talk about it in my relationship course, and I will teach you all how to do this in your relationship course and walk you through this. But what you need to hear today and understand is that the unfulfilled emotional wounds of your parents and grandparents, if they are unhealed, come down to you, and you are actually stuck. Maybe stuck's not the right word. They exist within you, and until you're aware of those emotional wounds that were passed down to you, you can't heal them. So there's a way that you can go about actually healing those past emotional wounds from your parents and your grandparents and yourself, to allow you to have more success in your finances, in your relationships, in your business. And this is something that I'm really working on myself. And the thing is, this is done energetically, because with my relationship with my parents, anytime you cast judgment on a parent, or you hate them, or any of those low vibrations, they feel that, because you have a strong emotional connection to your parents, because you're part of them. Same thing with the grandparents. And that will always come back to you. So, and because you can't control people, their actions, or how they treat you, it's important to know that you can do this healing without having to actually reach out to them. Is it better if they're still alive and they can reach out and you can have that conversation together? Of course it is, because not only does it allow you to heal, it actually allows them to heal as well, which can be really powerful. But I don't want anybody to think that you can't do the healing process yourself energetically if your parent or grandparent has passed on, or if they're not in a position or don't desire to actually talk to you or speak to you. Okay. So I think that's really, really important. But if you look at the idea that letting go allows in, okay, you all need to hear this. You guys who are watching need to listen to this. If you understand that letting go of your past clears room for a joyful, more abundant future, then you can see why healing the emotional trauma and wounds energetically between you and your parents, either from the past or that have been passed down from past generations, your grandparents and your parents, for yourself, allows you to clear space and create more opportunities for joy, love, and abundance in your life. Now, the best analogy I can give you all as to what these genomes and how this actually works is that, imagine your parent dies and they have things in their closet you didn't even know that they had, and you inherit them. Okay. That's what it would be like on an emotional level. So emotionally, things happen and you don't even realize it. And one example that he gives in the book of it didn't start with you, is that there was a young man who had a very awesome relationship with his new wife before they got married. When they got married, 6 months in, he didn't want to sleep with her anymore. He was scared to sleep with her. He was afraid that she would cheat on her. And he didn't understand where this was coming from. He just knew like he was protecting himself of some perceived possible outcome. And what happened is he actually had a conversation with his dad and was like, Dad, did you ever get married before? And his dad had never told him. This guy was like in his late 20s or 30s or whatever. His dad had never told him that he had been married once before he met his mom, and that his wife cheated on him 6 months into the relationship. And he had never dealt with that trauma, never healed that trauma, and he passed down that trauma energetically to his son, so that as soon as his son hit the 6-month mark, emotionally the triggers were that his wife was going to cheat on him, and he didn't understand why because he had no reason to believe it, but it was passed on from his dad. It's crazy. Now, the third thing you can do, so you have letting go, healing the relationship with your parents, and healing the emotional past from your grandparents and your parents. The third thing you need to know is that you have to choose a new identity and hold on to that and allow reality to catch up to it. You have to hold on to a new identity and allow reality to catch up to it. And that's actually what faith is. That's what belief is. You know, I always love to use the analogy that a farmer does not plant the seeds till he believes that he's a farmer, and he doesn't reap the harvest until he plants the seeds. But what you have to understand is when he assumes the identity of the farmer, and I don't think I've ever said this before, but when he assumes the identity of the farmer, he knows there's going to be a harvest. He's already made that decision. So the act of planting the seeds is actually him allowing reality to catch up to him. And the idea that he uses fertilizer or that he checks for bugs and all that kind of stuff is not because he's not a positive thinker. He just knows that these things exist. And so if he wants to reap the best reward and the best harvest, then he needs to take into account for that. And the thing is, but he doesn't focus on the bugs. He doesn't focus on the things. He just does the things because he knows that's going to reap a better harvest. Kind of like the idea with COVID. Like, I wash my hands, I wear my mask, I have my first shot, I have my second shot later on, but it was never done out of fear. It was always done because of, okay, I know it exists. I'm going to do my best to protect myself and protect my family and protect others, and I'm not going to worry about it. And that is really, really powerful. So when you know that your identity is going to catch up to you, catch up to reality, then there's no pressure about when it has to be done, how it has to be done. And then it just becomes a joyful experience of, okay, so what does a farmer know how to do? What do I want to plant? And how does a farmer tend to better soil? And so like if you're an entrepreneur, you do the same things with like your marketing. Like, okay, so people have to know about my business in order to actually use my services. So what are the ways that I can do that? What are the ways right now that are working for other people? And when you don't attach to a specific outcome and you just know it's going to happen, you really get to allow the universe and God to work miracles into your life. So those are my 3 things. These are things that I think are crazy important to anybody that wants to transform their life, especially the piece about emotional trauma being passed down between parents and grandparents to you and don't even realize that it's yours, and how much people live in guilt and shame thinking about that their thoughts or their beliefs or what have you is because like they did something wrong or they did something bad, and it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with something from their parents or their grandparents. And so knowing that, like, it just opens up so much more space, and letting go opens up so much space. So let go, look into the past, have those conversations with your kin about your parents. And if not, I highly encourage you to check out Tuning Into Love, how to restore broken hearts and create amazing new relationships in your life. And last but not least, allow your future that you have in your head to catch up to your reality. And have an amazing Saturday.